Doing, everybody? Mario Granata from Hashtag Sports here for another wonderful post game. Gonna meet my boy, the ski. See how crazy this is gonna be. 0-2 to start the year is fantastic. Hi.
What? That clip that you got of John Travolta as the little pick for this live video.
I think every fan is doing it.
I know.
Hey, man.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us yet again for another Bills blowout loss Sunday. Wasn't good, right? We need to see vast improvement in order for to claim today as success. We need vast improvement. Clearly didn't see that, but again, you know, we'll get there sooner or later. So thanks to those of you joining us now via the live feed. So Mario, as far as what you saw from today, it got out of control pretty early, didn't it?
Wait, are we halfway through the feed?
We're not done yet. We're not done. You can't just leave. You always leave me. Listen, you know.
Okay.
What did you see that? Because they got down early, and of course you get off script pretty quick. So
yes.
From an offensive perspective, when you come in with a game plan, and you had all week to run Josh Allen through what you're planning on doing, and you had to get off script that quickly, what does that do for your team so early in the season when you have to jump off script so quick?
Well, the thing about it is, you get down early, and we'll get into what happened with the defense and everything that was going on. But you just got to try to adjust your play calling to what's going on in the game. I mean, there was obviously a lot of game left. 14-0 really doesn't signify that you have to change what you were doing, what you came in to do anyway. It does throw a wrench in some of the things that you wanted to do as far as your script goes, but I'm not really sure that Dable really went off script too much when they went down that early. I think it was just a matter of they have to try to get some rhythm. They have to try to get some continuity on their offense, and they have none right now because they have so many new parts, new moving parts. The thing that was very interesting that I saw was you're seeing now why having viable wide receivers is huge, because teams are going to blitz Allen. They're going to bring pressure, and they're going to blitz Allen. So what do you got to do? You got to win one-on-one battles. And there were so many times they showed the wide feed, of the game. They were not winning one-on-one battles. You have to win. He's dropping back. There's 3-4 guys in the pattern, and nothing. Nobody's open.
Yeah, no.
What do you want him to do?
Well, I think there's a point where I think there's a point where you have to look at the buy-in from the team, right? And Bleacher Report is reporting right now, actually, that the Bills defense in the locker room was just done, that they had quit, that they had given up. And, we talk about this team, we talk about the culture that we're supposed to be seeing with family being number one. And that's just not something that you anticipate seeing from your family culture. You expect that when something's going wrong, that you're all going to kind of pull together. Bleacher Report right now reporting the Bills in the locker room at halftime were just quitting left and right. Specifically calling out Vontae Davis, which, if there's a disgruntled guy right now, it's probably Vontae Davis in the locker room.
I'm not really sure what his gripe is. Was it something that he wasn't getting the significant amount of playing time that he thought he should get? It couldn't have been that he was really upset with the schemes that they were running.
Well, Mike Williams he only caught 2 passes. Unfortunately, one of them was in the end zone. He got to see the back of Vontae Davis's jersey pretty quick in this game. So, there's disappointment there. But if you're looking at, did Vontae Davis do his job? Well, he was manned up on Williams most of the day. And Williams walked away with only 2 receptions. Yeah. So, but he did that damage in the first. He did that damage in the first half. The second half, things were very different.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and we'll get into that though. But here's my thinking on that particular play. Let's say we're talking about that touchdown play.
Okay.
So Rivers Rivers gets the snap. He looks to his left. He looks at Williams the entire time. Now Poyer, knowing that Rivers is a veteran, might be thinking, hey, he's trying to look me off. So maybe Poyer maybe shifted to his left before he came over to help Vontae Davis with Williams. And that could be a situation where the coaches got on Davis either on the sideline or whatever, and you know, really got on. That's why you're not playing. That's exactly. You know, I don't know what was said. I don't know what happened.
Very possible.
It could have been one of those situations where they got onto him. He's trying to say, hey, the safety didn't help me over the top. What do you want me to do? And all sort of stuff. And then he's just like, you know what? I'm done with this. If I can't play with the Bills, I'm not gonna play anywhere.
And there's you know, distinct possibilities there as far as that's concerned. Unfortunately, what we saw was just a very, very different team from the first half to the second half, offensively and defensively. So when you looked at the beginning of this game and the way things went offensively, they tried to get LeSean McCoy involved early. A lot of the offensive drives were cut off pretty quickly. But most importantly, right away, the Bills lost the field position battle within the first 3 drives, right?
Yeah.
The first 3 drives are super critical to setting the pace of the game, and the Bills just simply didn't have field position. San Diego started, let's see here. Their first possession was on the 25, so that's kind of, you know, it's at post kickoff. Yeah, so that's no craziness there. But after that, they started on the Bills 38 and then their own 39, right? So the next 3 drives. So it was 25, the Bills 38, and then their own 39. The Bills started at their 14, their 25, their 25. And when you're looking at an offense that's struggling to move the football, that starting field position is so critical. Now, of course, you know, the Bills unfortunately only got the possession once off a punt in those first 3 drives because they were back-to-back scoring drives. So, you know, winning that early field position battle is critical, and you just didn't see the Bills defense be able to stop anything. And they were really keying in on Tremaine Edmunds. They said, we're going to win by just absolutely isolating Tremaine Edmunds and making him cover somebody. It was brutal. But again, you expect to see those types of things out of a young middle linebacker. Unfortunately, the Bills' defensive game plan allowed San Diego to control what Tremaine Edmunds was doing on the field, and that's a problem. You can't have that happen. You know?
The thing about Edmunds, you know, when you just got below 0, I didn't get to see the game today. I heard Edmunds took a step back. I wouldn't say it was a step back. I think it was I almost said San Diego. LA did a masterful job of. In week 1, it was Baltimore just running a lot of play action, trying to get him to engage the line so they could throw over the middle, right over his head.
Yeah, very different attack today.
Yeah, what they were doing now is that, okay, knowing that Edmunds is going to try to fix that, he's going to try to fix that stuff about him. What you do is now you run play action, so what happens now, he comes up, and then he realizes, wait, I got to get back, but then forgets his responsibility as a running back, which happened on the one Gordon touchdown.
Yep.
He went up, then he came back before he went to Gordon.
Yeah.
By that time, it's too late. Gordon's already gone. It's a touchdown.
I'm pretty convinced the only reason he got keyed off on that was Gordon didn't engage on it. Right? As soon as Gordon didn't engage and slid out, it looked like Edmunds goes, oh, like it was a head back moment where he goes, oh man, I forgot, and he slipped out.
But that's a part of the growing process. And if you want to talk about the other side of the ball with Josh Allen, the way that we're going to talk about it in a little bit, that's the same thing. He's just progressing and he's growing as a pro. The kid's only 20 years old. I mean, we're not going to be making that excuse next year, 2 years from maybe.
Oh no,
but
no.
You know, after he has so many starts under his belt, but as far as I think he had a little bit more of his education in the NFL today. Not that he took a step back, he had a little bit more education today.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a fair point to bring up that if you're going to look at it as a learning experience for Josh Allen, you have to look at it as a learning experience for all these rookie players or all these first-year players. You do have to kind of take it the same way. Unfortunately, the Bills allowed the Chargers to dictate how Tremaine Edmunds was going to be impactful in this game. They really did. They took control of him in the middle of the defense, and that's something that he has to learn not to allow to happen. Again, he was working out there. He was doing everything you saw him do in the first game that are all positives. He was controlling the defense. He's making the calls. But again, there's responsibility post-snap that you just see him flagging out in right now.
There was a play, I think it was in the second quarter, where there was a handoff up the middle to Gordon. It ended up going to for no run, for no gain, but then the defensive tackle ended up making the tackle. But Edmunds hit the hole faster. Like by the time he was in the hole, the running back didn't have the ball yet. Like he read it so fast and was in the hole that fast. See, that's the type of dynamic that everyone knows that Edmunds can do. Now, transferring that to coverage or reading team, reading stuff like that, he really needs to work on that. But only 2 games into this kid's career, so let's not just try to pull the ripcord on that.
Yeah, so again, we're getting lots of questions at what happened to Vontae Davis, and we alluded to this, and you're just joining the live feed now. Thank you very much, of course, Paul and Mario from Hashtag Sports. Thanks again for subscribing. You know, we appreciate that. Yeah, Bleacher Report, as soon as we went live, reported that Vontae Davis pulled the ripcord at halftime. He was like, yep, nope, done. That's it.
Pulled a John Kruk.
That's it.
He was like,
well, I mean, John Kruk at least got a single. I mean, Vontae Davis was picking Mike Williams up off the turf. So, I mean, there's a big difference between John Kruk and Vontae Davis' retirement. But you know, unfortunately, when you look at the Bills, they were without Teron Johnson today, so they had to play Philip Gaines. Philip Gaines banged up early. They run into Vontae Davis, who clearly was having struggles, regardless of what that is. You know, regardless of what happened with Vontae Davis, there were clearly either communication issues or health issues or something of that nature. Not entirely sure what was going on there. I'm sure as we get further away from the game, we're going to hear more and more. And you can't expect Sean McDermott to give you anything. Sean McDermott is, with all respect to your question, you'll have to ask Vontae Davis. That's going to be his answer.
Yeah,
that's going to be what he says about it.
He'll be like, and we had more comments on the thread. So what happened to Davis? He got his helmet off and got head cut up, and that was Tywan Jones.
It was.
That was
Tywan
Jones, which was he stood up and walked off.
Yeah.
I want to train him to be a boxer now because that guy could take a hit and then get up like nothing.
Yeah.
He had a helmet full speed into his head, which is another issue. I think, not to be Billsy in this respect, but the reffing, the officiating in this game was piss poor.
Yeah.
It was not good at all.
I like to say that I'm relatively objective, but there are some times there where the rulings came out and you're like, are you sure about this one?
When you have one play where Josh Allen is getting dragged down from behind, he's not going down.
No, and they blow the whistle.
You don't blow it, he throws a pick. But then you got Phillip Rivers, who has one guy like grabbing his shirt like this, and then you blow the whistle, and then Lorenzo stripped the ball from him. I mean, I looked at it the second time; his knees were down. But the quick whistle for Allen, but not for Rivers, but not for Allen.
It's funny because they did do that later in the game. Allen was being held up in the backfield, and they blew the whistle dead, and he was still fighting to try and you know, it's just it is what it is, right? I mean. Unfortunately, there's one thing you can't control. There's one thing as a team that you can control, and it's whether you're going to allow the referees to take control of the football game, right? And bad football teams allow the referees to take control of the football game, and you can say what you want about the reffing today. The truth is that the Bills didn't have any big plays taken back by any of the reffing decisions, by anything that happened. There were no offensive pass interference penalties. One could have been called on Kelvin Benjamin on that back fade that they threw in the third quarter. You got to push off there. They didn't call it. So there are things either way that you go. But the truth is this officiating crew just did not seem to really be on the same page with how the flow of the game was going.
Yeah, if you're going to be that way, be consistent. Don't. You're
getting a little spicy tonight.
I'm a little fired up because I get fired up about certain things because when you and I talk about things that happen. Now, in all due respect, Ski, we're a couple of guys who have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We love talking about the Bills.
Yep.
You know, I play the game and stuff like that. If we're able to see things that may or may not happen with this team, like in the case with Edmonds and certain things like that, what professionals? What are they going to do to this team?
Well, and there was actually a couple of things that came up in the chat. Going back to officiating real quick, there was some lean going on in the offensive line with the Chargers. So there was some lean going on where the offensive linemen would start leaning in before the snap, and that's not supposed to happen. We saw, was it Mills or Miller that got away with like on the touchdown run by Ivory? He was already in the end zone before the ball was even snapped.
Oh yeah.
So there were some really bad line calls there. So I have to agree. That's a great point. Who brought that up? Can you see? It was
Mike Ferry. Wait, was that?
No. Below zero. Thank you.
Below. Sorry about that.
Great point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. There was a lot of lean going on with San Diego. It just, Sky did it again. That Chargers.
We're calling them San Diego
Chargers.
right.
Whatever. Who cares? LA doesn't even know they're there. So,
well, LeBron's there now, so I don't even know they have a football team anymore.
So, you know, you do have to walk in with tempered expectations, and I think Mike Ferre brings that up in the chat right now. It says, "I'm not mad at all about the game. Very low expectations. Again, depending on what your level of expectation is, your level of frustration is going to vary, right? But you do go on to say that they let's see,
happy with how Allen played
Yeah.
and how the defense turned it around, which is a point of emphasis. How the defense turned it around in the second
Yeah,
half.
little inside information on that one.
Yes.
So, through the wonders of social media and through the wonders of technology today, we were able to discover. I mean, it's not.
You'll find out.
You'll find out eventually. But Leslie Frazier actually wasn't calling the defense in the second half, and you might have seen a huge change in the way that. With the way that Leslie Frazier called the first half versus the second half, because Bills really locked down that defense in the second half, and that's because actually Sean McDermott was calling this play. You saw a very philosophical change in the way the secondary approached how to cover guys. And we've talked about this on the show countless times, that Leslie Frazier's theory and philosophy behind defense and Sean McDermott's are very, very different. And you got to see it today, even with the same personnel, you got to see how different that philosophy was. And clearly, Sean McDermott was very frustrated with how things were turning out with Leslie Frazier. And it looks like he just took the book and said, that's it for you today.
Oh, I have a theory. I have a theory about this.
Oh, I would love to
I'm
hear
very
this.
interested. Now, if say you're a head coach and you go into a game and it's nothing, you set your play calling. Let's say it's at the end of the first quarter. It's nothing still. Are you going to change your philosophy, what you want to do? You may adjust a few things here and there, but you're not going to do anything drastic, right? Okay. If you come in the second half and it's like you're within 7 points, 3 points, you're still going to make your adjustments and then go accordingly.
Yeah.
What if you're up at the half 28-6? You're up. Are you going to adjust your offensive philosophy a little bit to take your foot off the gas pedal a little bit? See, here's my theory.
I mean, you look at how much. I think a little bit goes into that. So
Yeah,
if you're
okay,
looking
right.
at 6 points, but they've got 180 yards passing and 70 yards on the ground, and you just happen to turn the ball over, then yeah, you're going back and you're looking at your defensive philosophy. But if you're looking at the way that the first half went offensively for the Bills, I think you do go back and say, we could probably take the foot off the gas a little bit. Let's worry about health. Let's worry about some of these guys. But what do you think?
Well, I mean, to me, it's like one of those scenarios where you say, "Oh, this guy's generating a bunch of passing yards." Well, they're down 20 points and they're playing prevent. That's why he's getting guys open. Like, why did they do this earlier in the game? Well, they're playing prevent. So what I'm saying is that at the timing that he took over play calling, I mean, LA could have just taken their foot off the gas, and it could have been one of those scenarios where they're like, "Listen, all right, we're just gonna." But then the reason why he took over it. There's my other thought process in this. He takes over it because, listen, these are my guys I went and got, and they're not performing at the level that I think they can perform at. So I'm gonna see if it's Frazier or if it's the guys.
Yeah.
So then he takes over play calling. Has a turnaround, so now maybe there may be a little bit of friction now at one Bills drive as far as, hey, listen, these are my guys. I picked them to run my defense. For some reason, you're not calling in the fashion that I want it. So when I call it, it works. When you call it, it doesn't work.
Well,
so I'm just saying, from a simplistic view, that seems like on the surface what's happened.
Yeah. It's when you look at coaching staff, because we got a question from John Patrick. Will they cut Frazier? I mean, you just certainly fire any coordinator any time that you want.
It doesn't go in the salary cap.
With that being said, let's not forget that this was number 3 defense against the pass last year.
Yes, number 3. Yep.
So I think right now, when you look at this, and there was a comment earlier by Dennis Chapman, so I want to give some light to that.
Yeah.
It said, we knew our first 5 or 6 games were murderer's row. The line hopefully gets better with time, the more they spend time together. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think that's kind of the goal here, is we hope and pray that the line improves. But Miller gave up. Miller played awful today. Mills looked bad. That right side of the line was bad. Thomas gave up a sack. I mean, come on. But he laid the defensive.
Logan Thomas. I'm not saying that to
As a
demean
former
him.
quarterback, he should play with a little more heart, understanding the sympathy of what a sack feels like. So I'm just saying that it should be a little bit more dirt.
No, but I'm saying
underneath
he's
his nail.
not a guy you expect to be a solid blocker.
No.
I mean, the tight ends that come out today are really more receivers than blockers. But then we just had John Patrick came in. As far as I know, we're jumping around. This is what we do. McCoy couldn't get going today. Again, what's the problem? I think for the same problems that you don't see this passing offense get off the ground is the same reason you don't see the run offense get off the ground. Is that they are just the chemistry is not there with the line right now, and they're having trouble.
Yeah, big time.
They're having trouble protecting, creating a pocket for Allen, and generating holes for McCoy to run.
If Allen wasn't so big, you'd probably hear complaints. Like if this were Tyrod, you'd hear complaints that there are no passing lanes, right? That's what we heard last year and the year before, was that, Tyrod can't get over the middle because there's no passing lanes. Well, that's fair. Allen's not getting many passing lanes either, right?
He's creating his own.
He is, yeah. He's moving around and doing what he has to do, but he got sacked, 6 times today?
Maybe in the first half.
There were a lot. I did stop counting. There might have been more than 6. Excuse the statistical error. But when you take a look at the performance of this team, you're not going to win many games scoring 3 points in 13 minutes, right? You're just not going to win. You're not going to win football games. So we got a question earlier asking what our predictions for record. Again, you can very easily be prisoner of the moment. Mario said that last week. It's very easy to do that right now. The 4-12 is a number that could be tossed around, right? You still have to look inside the division. You still got your games against the Patriots at the end of the year. There's a lot of growth that needs to happen, but if there's problems within the coaching staff, there's a big deal. It's a long season, right? I think we all kind of came under the understanding that this might be what we were going to see. Yeah. I just don't think we expected to see this defense get torched over and over and over again. Now, again, the offense can give them can take some pressure off them by being able to stay on the field. Which, again, we didn't really see the Bills. Hold on one second. The Bills didn't get to the 50-yard line until, let's see here. I wrote that down because I was like, that's going to be important to know. The Bills didn't make it to the 50 until there were 13 minutes. It was 13 minutes into the game before the Bills made it to the 50-yard line. You can't, or 13 minutes in the first quarter. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to push the ball down early. You have to show a little dominance early. The Bills were down. They didn't even get past the 50-yard line until there were 2 scores on the board already. So, these are just things you can't do if you're going to have a successful
This is the growing phase. This is the phase where maybe should have happened in week 1. Allen maybe, in hindsight, you'd be like, listen, Allen maybe should have started in week 1 so we can bring this kid along the way we want to bring this kid along. But and then we got another Brando the Mando to let Frazier go. How do you think this team is going to start to build any chemistry or build any continuity if you just start letting coordinators go left and right at this point? So
I think you expected the defense to be the stalwart of the staff, right? You expected the defense to take over, and again, like we've talked about it before, there are definite differences between the way that Leslie Frazier says the defense should be run versus Sean McDermott. So you anticipate some sort of friction. We did not see this when the Bills hired Rex Ryan. When you had Jim Schwartz and Rex Ryan, right? When the Bills hired Rex Ryan, Jim Schwartz was like, "I'm out, I'm in." We didn't get to see that type of friction. We're talking about these defenses. They're similar, but there are definitive philosophical differences between the way that you want to handle it. Mark Pensky actually mentioned that he threw up at the game. You're probably not alone.
No, and it wasn't the Bills that probably made a lot of people throw up at their off today.
Yeah.
I think, as Bills fans do, we party.
Yeah. And John Patrick mentions Kelvin Benjamin had 1 catch, which actually should have been offensive interference because he did push off of the cornerback. So you can't have your number 1 getting 1 reception. That's just
no.
Can't do it.
What we're gonna do is we're gonna take away their number 1 wideout. We're gonna play man behind it, and we're gonna blitz Allen and see if we can find somebody else who can't get open.
Can we talk about Zay Jones for a second? Well, that didn't take long. All right. No, I'm kidding. We're not done. So, Zay Jones, wide open. Throwing his hands in the air. Allen takes forever to see him.
Yes.
Finally throws it. Does underthrow it. It's not a bad thing that it was underthrown. It's fine. The cornerback kept going. Zay Jones adjusted. But Zay's head literally turns as the ball's about to get to him. It bounces off his chest and still manages to make the catch. If there's ever a catch in this universe that you should make, it's that one. Like, the cornerback doesn't see it. You're the only one with eyes on it. your hand is like a clock, right? That's it. This is how you catch football. This is not how you catch football. And unfortunately, we've seen this with Zay before, where he lets the ball get in on him. And normally you expect that with under routes with a guy, that sometimes he'll let the ball get a little too close in on him.
If you're going to catch it in traffic, you know you're going to get hit. But in today's NFL, you're not going to get hit.
Yeah,
you're not
no,
they
do protect the receivers now. But to be that far downfield and still trying to catch the ball with your chest, that's, I mean, come on. Come on. And there were lots of times when we were looking through Josh Allen's progressions where he missed the wide open guy. There were wide open guys.
Like his. I mean, honestly, how we got 2 rookies on this team that we drafted in the first round.
Yep.
One guy misses a coverage on Gordon and he scores a touchdown. Allen misses a guy wide open down the sideline. Mm-hmm. Are we really going to hammer Allen more than Edmonds in that respect? I'm not hammering either one of them. I'm just saying I know how tough their job has to be. Right. I'm assuming how tough their job has to be. I'm just saying that with that growth, he's going to know in the games coming up, Edmonds is going to know he's got to cover that guy. Allen's going to look at the tape this week and hopefully say, listen, I got to get through my progressions a little bit, but you guys got to give me some time back there.
There were times that he had time and he still didn't make it through his progressions. So again, there's positives and negatives here. We're getting a lot of questions about Josh Gordon, and can't say that's a surprise. So with regards to Josh Gordon, from a talent level, you certainly can't deny the talent of Josh Gordon, a rare talent. And there's a reason why Cleveland, as big a disaster as they are as a franchise, has kept him around. Why he has weathered the storm over many other talented players that have come through that team.
Yeah.
So the thing about Josh Gordon that is important to remember is, as a vested veteran, his salary is guaranteed. It's fully guaranteed.
Yes.
So if you acquire him and then you cut him, you have to take his full guaranteed salary, whatever his base salary is, against your salary cap this year, which means that's not money that's going to be available next year. Whatever money you don't spend right now is going to roll over to next year. So if you don't want to spend the money, don't spend the money. You're going to have extra cash next year. If you acquire Josh Gordon, the biggest concern is he's always one bad drug test away from being out of the NFL, period. And the NFL will not care about your salary cap problems.
No.
They will say, well, that's too bad. You acquired him. That's what happens.
Well, I mean, the thing is, though, you got a roster spot that opens up now with Vontae Davis leaving.
Well, you also have another roster spot up because they cut Jeremy Curley. And, not letting the body cool, Robert Foster came in and snatched up that jersey number. So, I saw 16 out there. I go, I thought we cut Curley. And I go, oh, it's Robert Foster. Okay. But there are other options out there. So you can look at Josh Gordon. Jeremy Maclin's still available. It is going to be tough to ask a veteran receiver to come to this team right now.
Yes.
It's going to be real hard to make that case. Yeah. Do you need a little bit more depth? Well, I don't think the coaching staff did Josh Allen any favors by only dressing 4 wide receivers today.
No. And why do you have 4 tight ends on the roster if you're only going to use 2?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that baffles me about this. I'm not really sure what the offensive mindset and the offensive philosophy is for Daboll, other than the fact that it seems like he knows how to work with the college quarterback. I think that's one of the reasons why Daboll came in here, is that he knows how to work with a college-minded quarterback in his first couple of years. And it's interesting too. We start to come in. I mean, we're getting some. I can't. Where's the one? I couldn't stop laughing at it. Mark Penske once again. Josh Allen looks like he did in college. He is who we thought he was. I can't get Dennis Green out of.
Who we thought they were. We let him off the hook. It's truth be told, whenever you start a rookie quarterback, these are the types of expectations that you have, right? You expect this kind of issue early, right? And that's exactly what you get with a rookie quarterback. That's just the way that it is, and that's fine, right? Unfortunately, there's times where things aren't made easy for him, right? And you have to look at, sometimes you need to put the kid gloves on and kind of baby him a little bit to make his life a little bit easier. But again, you've seen this team go against 2 very, very veteran secondaries that had no problem getting after the quarterback. And that's one point that I know we talk about Josh Allen a lot because it's important to talk about him. This O-line is a disaster. Can you fix it right now? Where you're carrying 10 offensive linemen, and let's just think about this for a minute. You've got 10 offensive linemen on your roster. You're one of only 6 teams in the NFL to have 10 offensive linemen on your roster. That's it. The rest of the league does not carry that many. So that speaks to their depth problems at the position. They know it's a problem. But unless you're picking guys up off a practice squad, if you sign a guy from the practice squad, you have to put him on your roster. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing some of those moves now that you're freeing up a little bit of roster space. You got one with Vontae Davis, so you might see a guy cycle in at wide receiver. They sign somebody off the practice squad at wide. I have to imagine, or the secondary, because Gaines got banged up early. You're still without Teron Johnson. You obviously have Travius White, but he can't play the secondary all by himself. No. So I wouldn't be shocked if they respond with Vontae Davis leaving the team by signing another cornerback. That's kind of what I would expect. But it's going to be somebody you've never heard of. It's going to be somebody off the practice squad from a probably small school that you've never heard of. That might have been a target for the Bills in the draft that got cut and placed on practice squad somewhere along the way.
So Alabama player.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's not going to be. Stop it. It's not going to be a sexy name, is what I'm telling you. It's just not going to be a sexy name. The one thing I do want to talk about, though, is the pass rush. And will we be able to see the Bills generate any pass rush with 4 guys at all this season? Okay, well, there we go.
No. I mean, I think if you were able to see the way the defense was called in the first half versus the second half, now I understand, I mentioned before, score aside, I was putting the score aside, he was mixing up looks, stunts, twists, everything inside, and everything started to change a little bit. It seemed like guys wanted to get after it, and they started to build that momentum, and they were starting to believe in, all right, this is starting to work out for us now. This is starting to work out. We're starting to get the ball back. They had a couple unfortunate breaks. That one ball was in the end zone on that one punt. That was so stupid.
I know. Just get away from the ref thing.
I'm hunting down zebras.
There's a Ski Bag 18. That's my son Logan. So in the chat, he and I have a bet, and the bet before the season was I was so confident AJ McCarron was going to be the starter of this team. I made some ridiculous bets, and we had a bet that AJ McCarron would start more games than Josh Allen. So right now I'm losing because even though AJ McCarron is with the Raiders, I mean, Derek Carr broke his back last year, so I'm still looking pretty good in that
one. It's a push
right
now.
That's right now it is. So again, looking forward to next week. I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of roster moves the Bills make, what kind of rumblings we hear about the coordinators along the way. Because, again, as far as an offense, you're expecting that offense to stutter. You're not expecting the defense to be just giving up points left and right. And that's where I think they're going to try and stop the bleeding right now, is they're going to try and stop the bleeding with that defense, because you can't expect this offense to be able to go out there and throw up 30 points to compete in this game. I mean, that's never a possibility. This is an offense that's going to score maybe 21 points a game, maybe. So
they scored 20 today, but it was in garbage time.
That's what I mean.
Well, the thing about it too is I think we should say that, and we may talk about this later in the week as well. Don't expect, unless something drastic happens in the locker room at halftime after the game with Frazier and McDermott. Don't expect Frazier to fire Frazier, because he holds the keys to that defense. He's going to be a very valuable commodity within the AFC East. He may be a consultant. I mean, we've seen the Patriots do that before.
That's a really interesting
point. They would
point.
hire him as a consultant to say, hey, what are they doing on defense?
That's a really interesting point. So what you're saying is that if the Bills were to let Frazier go, he becomes available to the highest bidder, which absolutely he would be. He'd be salty. And it's very possible that he could become a consultant for another team inside the division. That's interesting. I think you have to be concerned about the Bills winning games first. So if they don't win any games, I don't think any team inside the AFC East is going to be too interested. But if you fire Frazier, the Bills win 3 games, the next 3 games after that, I think that becomes possible.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I think that's going to do it for us. Thank you for hanging out with us here in Tim Hortons in Niagara Falls. All right, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Obviously, like, subscribe, get notified as far as content for the rest of the week. Mario and I are going to go take care of business now, recording our Sunday, not on Sunday drive anymore.
We'll have episodes coming this Tuesday and Thursday.
Yeah.
Previewing next week's game and getting a little bit more in depth about what happened today. So once again, thank you to everyone that came and went on the comment thread and everything else. So we'll see you in a little bit.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, guys. Later. Oh, go Bills.